Israel is really an outpost of this Rothschild-centered banking empire. How has this been concealed, and how do you verify that this is the case?
Well, you look for the telling signs. It's a telling sign that the Rockefellers donated the land to the United Nations, right?
Right.
Well, similarly, the Rothschilds donated the land and essentially built the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament. They did the same thing in the case of the Supreme Court of Israel. They designed and built it themselves, and it's full of Masonic signs. But you can just look at the role Israel has played over the years, and you can see that it is the private fiefdom of the Rothschild Bank and their banking syndicate, and it's essentially the Rothschilds' nuclear arsenal. It's the Rothschilds' political lobby to get things done. AIPAC. It's the Rothschild Secret Service, Mossad. It's basically really just an arm of the Rothschilds. It's got nothing to do with the Jewish homeland. The Rothschilds wanted needed an instrument to carry out their agenda of world domination, and they're very effectively using the Jewish people, and using Israel to that end.
Well, that puts an interesting spin on the concept of the Samson option, in which Israel says it will blow up all the European capitals with its nuclear weapons if it's ever really pushed into something it doesn't want to do. If that's actually being the Samson option of the Rothschild banking syndicate, would that mean that if the world powers decided to take their countries back from the Rothschild bankers, that they would have their capitals blown up by Israeli missiles?
Well, that would probably be a last-ditch scenario, yeah, because those are really Rothschild's nuclear weapons, and they feel that their monopoly on capital, on credit, is being threatened, and their power and their New World Order agenda is being threatened. I guess Israel is their last recourse.
And that leads to the question of how we're going to take these guys down, and how we're going to get our world back. More and more people are waking up to this kind of hidden control mechanism, to the so-called New World Order. We Are Change is this group of younger people mostly who've been out getting in the faces of these figureheads and asking them uncomfortable questions relating to the New World Order. The Ron Paul movement, of course, is very much anti-New World Order and aware of these things. There's definitely a huge movement in this direction. How do you see this movement becoming effective and actually taking back the country and the world?
Well, first of all, we've got to be careful about these movements. I mean, there's a lot of truth to what Ron Paul says, but there's also a lot of deception. I mean, the man is a Freemason. That's very, very frightening and disturbing.
Really?
Secondly, his belief, yes, and then his belief in gold. That's a way the Rothschilds use to control money. Gold. Money does not need to be backed by by gold. There's not enough gold in the world to do that. Gold would be worth millions of dollars if they had to do that, an ounce. If we had the currency backed by gold, currency is just a medium of exchange. Now, just like beads might be. But so we have to be careful about the Ron Pauls, and he and his son are also pretty pro-Zionist. That's what they do. They put out people who gather followers, and then they steer them away from the usual suspects. So you've got to be careful about these movements. The same thing with the Tea Party movement. These movements aren't going to affect change, in my opinion. They may affect some kind of cosmetic change or give people the illusion of change, but there's not going to be any ultimate change. I think what we're headed for is what we had in communist Russia, where basically the government was a tyrannical government, and large numbers of people realized it, increasingly large numbers. and that's what we're going to have.
And did things finally fall apart as they did in the former Soviet Union?
Well, they only did because they decided to do a kind of face job. It wasn't a genuine falling apart. So I don't know how the system will be taken down, or if it ever will be. They're extremely powerful. They've been powerful. They've been extremely powerful for more than 100 years. They were in control, by 1900. They were in control probably by 1825, pretty much. And so I don't understand how this will ever be reversed, other than them somehow coming to blows internally or making some massive mistake. I just don't see how this is going to be turned around.
Okay, and that leads
naturally, I hope it will be.
Okay, well, I do too. We'll be back for more in just a moment. I'm Kevin Barrett, talking with Henry Makow. We'll be back for more conversation about the New World Order, Illuminati conspiracy, in just a moment. This is Truth Jihad Radio. I'm Kevin Barrett, talking about the Illuminati conspiracy, which is apparently in control by way of the big international banking houses, specifically the Rothschilds, according to guest Henry Makow. Henry, I did get a question from you all the way from Malaysia. And the question is, the questioner says that you are such a wonderful guy with such accurate views of these matters. How could you not be a Muslim? What is your religious and spiritual orientation, by the way, and how does that fit into your work?
Well, thanks for that, because I have a lot of respect for Islam, based mainly on the examples of the behavior of many Muslims that I see. I believe there's a spiritual order and a moral order, and I believe it's as obvious as the rules of physics, the laws of physics. So I don't have to take a religious paraphernalia. This order applies to most true religions. Most true religions address this order, in my view. I really believe that there's an incredible design in human affairs and in human life, and that if we only follow the design, the way God created us, we're going to be happy, and we're going to be successful, and we're going to be healthy. And coincidentally, most of what the Illuminati does is try to obscure that design, deny that it even exists, and then make us challenge and betray or basically disobey that design to our own suffering. So I see it all. I see it as in pretty clear metaphysical terms. But if people ask for a label, I tell them I like the New Testament, particularly the Sermon on the Mount.
Okay, I do too.
Essentially, I just thought of a better way of answering that. Essentially, the Sermon on the Mount says that you have to put God first, and you have to put money and sex basically off the table. If you can't pursue money and sex and power and fame, and be true to God. And I think that's the essence of any true religion. Any true religion will keep money and sex in their place, and therefore liberate us to follow God's will.
Well, that's what I see Islam and the other monotheistic traditions doing. In, for instance, the prohibition on idolatry, the notion that we're all being pulled in different directions by false gods, such as money and sex and fame and ego, and that we have to surrender to God and focus and be oriented towards God alone is the core message of Islam, as well as the earlier scriptures, according to Islam itself, which sees itself as...
Right, and I don't see God as some kind of abstraction. God is really the principle of our own development, our own spiritual development. So we cannot really be happy unless we follow this principle of our own development. Sex and money are really just surrogates